时尚欧洲精彩呈现，观众朋友大家好，欢迎收看本期的欧洲大观，我是主持人黄杰。今天的节目都有哪些精彩看点呢？充满了神秘和隐私感的粉红餐厅，瑞典国菜美味肉丸，汉堡，历史与现代相融合的城市。2007年呢，哈里和萨姆因制作果冻建筑而出名。现在他们在自己创办的英国食品博物馆展示了不同寻常的食品创作，感受巧克力声音乐园，熔岩上烧烤，看着咖啡豆升上高空并制成太空咖啡，还可以在旁边的一家酒吧体验一下可吸入式的鸡尾酒。
An English breakfast. Made from wool. Things are not always what they seem at the British Museum of Food. It was founded by Sam Bumpus and Harry Parr, both from Britain. This video installation is part of the exhibition and was taken with a pill-sized camera normally used by doctors. It shows how food travels through our bodies. The duo Bumpus and Parr is known for their unusual food projects. So, of course, their museum had to be something special too.
I think the idea of like classical museums, which are sort of like ossuaries or sort of like temples to precious objects, is becoming more and more antiquated. So here at the museum, you don't just come to look at things, you don't just even come to look at other people looking at things as well, which is what museums are normally good at. You come to interact with one another.
That prospect is especially inviting at the installation, The Butterfly Effect. It boasts tropical temperatures, artificial sunlight, and 400 butterflies flitting about the room. But what are butterflies doing in a food museum? It's simple. They play a vital role in the pollination of fruits like bananas, a staple food for many people around the globe. Chocoholics should head for Chocophonica, where visitors take part in a survey. While eating chocolate, they're exposed to various sounds. Afterwards, they rate their taste experience. The results will be analyzed at Oxford University, which is studying how noise affects our sense of taste. Visitors like the museum's concept.
I thought it was great. It's not quite what we expected, but certainly a very enjoyable experience.
I've never been to a museum that's so interactive.
It is very different to other museums I've been to. I work in a museum in Ireland, and it's a much more conventional museum, so it's very nice to see something pushing the boundaries of museum work.
My philosophy is if you give people a really engaging time, most people are very inquisitive and they'll start asking questions. Of course, we then make the message available for people.
Sam Bumpus and his partner Harry Parr have been getting their message out creatively for years. In 2007, they became known as the Jellymongers for creating architecture out of jelly. Ever since, the duo has delved into new culinary terrain. They've barbecued over molten lava and sent coffee beans 37 kilometers into orbit on a helium balloon. Back on Earth, the beans became space coffee. In 2015, Bumpus and Parr served up a 200-course menu in London. The meal lasted 24 hours.
When we're working with food, we've always tried to look at the things that get people really excited. There are normally very few foods which universally put a smile on people's faces. They tend to be things like coffee, chocolate, alcohol and meat. And those are the things that when they come to the table, everyone's faces light up.
Next to the museum, they've opened Alcoholic Architecture, a walk-in cloud bar that dispenses breathable cocktails. Visitors wander through the alcoholic cloud wearing plastic ponchos, so that at least their clothes stay dry. Here you can get tipsy just from breathing, though regular drinks are on offer too.
The bar alcoholic architecture gives you a drinking experience you've never had before. You'll have the ultimate bragging rights next time you go out to any other bar with your friends and a better story to tell.
The Food Museum is slated to remain open for 3 months, but Bumpus and Parr are looking for investors willing to give it a permanent home. Then the British Museum of Food would really become the institution it ought to be.
瑞士登山家史蒂芬·西格里斯特发现了喜马拉雅山脉3座从未被征服过的山峰。这位瑞士登山家曾沿着不同的路线数10次登上阿尔卑斯山脉的马特洪峰。目前，他和他的团队正在印度克什米尔地区准备开展一场未知的探险。这里有很多未被攀登过的山峰，等待他的发现。
An expedition into the unknown. Stefan Siegrist has his sights set on climbing a mountain in Kashmir that bears a strong resemblance to the Matterhorn in his native Switzerland, a striking pyramid the locals call Bala.
You know that every rock you touch has never been touched by another human being. No one has ever stood here before. Naturally, that is an exceptional technical and logistical challenge. It's extremely exciting. You're continuously facing unpredictable situations.
Every step on the ascent harbors a surprise. The region is uncharted territory. Distances are hard to gauge. When the climbers reach the summit, their altimeter reads 5,900 meters.
You're advancing into a region and feel like you're going back in time to the golden age of European alpinism. That era ended in 1865 with the ascent of the Matterhorn, the last remaining unclimbed summit in the Alps. But here, there are certainly more than 2 unclimbed Matterhorns.
The Matterhorn in Switzerland is Stefan Siegrist's backyard. He scaled the mountain dozens of times on all possible routes. He set the records for the fastest ascent of the Eiger in both winter and summer. Everywhere in the world, he has successfully scaled the most difficult mountain faces. Nowadays, his preferred view of the Matterhorn is from the valley.
The fact is that this mountain doesn't offer any logical routes for a major first ascent anymore. You can still experience smaller scale adventures, but because the infrastructure is so built up, with so many cable cars, they can only be classified as soft adventures. Nowadays, if you're looking for a real adventure, you have to travel far.
That's what he did, to Kavan in northern India's Kashmir region. Villagers helped Stefan and his team set up a base camp at 4,000 meters. It's the starting point for their ascent. At the summit of the Bala, they spot another unscaled mountain that awakens their ambitions. They decide to tackle another first ascent. Suddenly, bad weather threatens to strike. A sleepless night in the camp.
You can't stop thinking about the best way to do it, the safest way to get up there. And then you start thinking, why am I even still doing this? Why are you taking such an extreme risk? But it's just my passion. You have to weigh up what the right thing to do is, if there's even such a thing.
The climbers are lucky. The weather doesn't change and they reach the summit without a hitch. Buoyed by their success, they decide to tackle a third, smaller peak. The climb turns out to be one of the most enjoyable in Stefan's career.
An amazing day. An amazing view. We found an awesome peak here.
Now it's time to head down into the valley. First, the climbers help the villagers with their harvest. Then they learn more about the way of life in this remote part of Kashmir that hasn't hosted foreigners in 80 years.
They were astonished that I have nothing better to do in life than climb mountains. Their culture showed me that people who live very simply can be very happy with what they have, seeing how well they get along with one another. It was a valuable experience for me, and a glimpse of this other kind of world would benefit many others.
Stefan Siegrist is certain he'll be returning to Kashmir soon, because there are more unscaled summits waiting to be discovered.
如何在一处偌大空旷的空间让人拥有隐私感呢？这是巴黎建筑师布伦丹在巴黎传奇蓬皮杜中心设计乔治斯粉红餐厅时所遇到的难题。设计师们打破了很多界限，将一处空旷的大厅变成酒吧、餐厅和休息室。他们还建造了一个神秘的空间，有很多不同颜色的小角落。这些角落给这个神秘空间赋予了强烈的隐私感。
This is the view from the top floor of the Centre Pompidou in Paris. A design competition was posted in 1998. The brief was to create an overall concept for a restaurant, a lounge and a bar. The challenge lay in the sheer size of the place. Paris-based architect Brendan McFarlane won the competition. His design for the Georges with the pink bar made this floor famous.
You come away with Pompidou that you realize you don't really know the building. And every time you go back for more, it's even more complicated than the time before. So it's one of these buildings you'll never get to the end of. The whole building is protected, so it's become this, massive icon. And you can't really do anything with it, including the interiors. You can't do anything with the ceilings, the walls, etc. So the only thing that was where we could see there was the freedom was the floor. So by starting with the floor and by starting with then the idea of this intervention inside an existing thing that we couldn't really touch, we imagined the pieces of the program. We knew there had to be a kitchen somewhere, etc. But none of that was given to us. So we imagined really the restaurant as we would like to imagine the restaurant, which for us then we got rid of the word restaurant and imagined it as a space. And in that way, we broke a lot of barriers, I think. We imagined it as being part of the city. We imagined it as being part of the Pompidou floor space. It just kept on growing like a creature. And we imagined it like a kind of a gigantic carpet of 900 meters squared. And introducing the program like mice would be introduced under the carpet, and they would push the floor up and develop the 4 major pieces of the program.
The designers implanted a whole topography into these empty halls, a landscape of mounds and caves. They're there to guide and disperse guests throughout the space.
So we knew really more or less that people had to be kind of in this area. And we knew more or less that because that was the darker side, that most of, in a way, the volumes that we proposed would be in this area. But then the problem became really as to how to move around and through things. So this idea of a kind of within the grid, as I've done a kind of fluid thing here, we start to kind of like see that maybe we can start to move in a more sort of mysterious way around or between things. And so this idea of kind of the kitchen being this kind of the biggest volume, and another volume which actually talks to the entry as you come in, another volume here which talks to the diagonal and the city with its mouth, and another volume which is kind of a mysterious volume which we talked about with being the red volume. And the red volume is imagined as a kind of a volume which is about double the size. What we did is like a bread knife, we cut it on the facade of Pompidou. And so at night, if you're looking up from the fountain, you see just the red volume. But conceptually, the volume continues. So in other words, it's also related to this idea where we said the project could be endless in a way, it could continue.
The volumes are large and bulky enough to assert themselves over the massive window facade and the large hall. Their colours are dominant and also indicate their different functions. The red volume is the largest and highest after the kitchen, but like the others it has cuts and amorphous distortions. There are indentations, bays and niches. Together with the colours, they have an essential significance. They are what impart the sense of intimacy. The designers turned the large volumes into design features of the pink bar. It's a unique idea to make a bar, restaurant and lounge possible in the vast open space of the hall.
在瑞典呀，有一道菜几乎每家餐厅都会有，它是在宜家餐厅被大众接受的传统食品——瑞典肉丸。在斯德哥尔摩有一家名叫“大众肉丸”的餐厅，每天卖多种不同的瑞典肉丸，并且尝试推出新品种。吉比兰餐厅厨师瓦尔贝格今天将给大家展示如何制作这道瑞典国菜。
Small, round, and hearty meatballs are a national dish in Sweden. Nearly every restaurant there serves them. Casey Valberga, a chef at the Gubbhyllan restaurant in Stockholm, makes them too.
Everyone knows meatballs, but the Swedish meatballs has to be small, spicy with the allspice, rich, not dry, and it always comes with the lingonberry and the cucumber as a combination.
The concept at Gubbhyllan is traditional Swedish fare. The restaurant is on the grounds of the Skansen open-air museum, which shows how people lived in Sweden 100 years ago. Back then, the meat grinder had just been invented, making it a lot easier to prepare the ground meat for the meatballs. Their success can be traced to the restaurant in Stockholm's Opera House. The head chef, Tori Wretman, served them at his buffet in 1963. One former employee remembers how the meatballs, or köttbullar, found international acclaim in 1964.
Köttbullar was first exponated in the World Exhibition in New York. And then this gentleman who had this restaurant started a company. The name was Swedish Smörgåsbord, and was traveling around the rest of the world and have always the main piece of the smörgåsbord was köttbullar.
But it was a Swedish furniture giant that made the meatballs a household name the world over. Each of its stores has a restaurant, and since 1985, they've all served meatballs. Last year alone, IKEA sold more than 1 billion of them.
It's the same recipe all over the IKEA market, and yeah, it's a Swedish tradition, and we can have it all over the world, and it's easy to like, even for children and for others.
Since 2015, IKEA has also offered vegetarian and poultry varieties.
I have a brother who lives in Bangkok. He works there, and he always goes to IKEA and eats meatballs.
It's like a tradition. When you go to IKEA, you take the meatballs.
They're good and cheap.
If you do it at your home, of course, it's better.
Meatballs shaped by hand. Casey Valberga swears by them. It takes only 20 minutes to make them. They're a simple dish with scope for variation.
I guess there is as many recipes of meatballs as there is grandmas in Sweden. This is traditional spices with allspice and black pepper, and then my personal favorite is to add a little of fennel seeds.
If you turn the meatballs every 20 seconds in the frying pan, they stay juicy. The Swedes have very clear ideas about what side dishes go with them.
It's lingonberries because it has sweet and sour flavors. Cucumbers because it's a freshness. And the potato become quite creamy. That's why you need the sides.
Nowadays, there are even restaurants that offer only köttbullar. 2 years ago, a restaurant named Meatballs for the People opened in Stockholm. Every day it serves 14 different kinds, for example, with reindeer meat, truffles, or chili. The restaurant keeps experimenting.
We
actually done about 100 different kinds of meatballs, and we did beer meatball, which was, we got both a good and a bad reaction from it. It was really strong in flavor, it's quite meaty.
Whether they're novel or classic, Swedish meatballs are here to stay.
汉堡是德国最大的港口城市，这里有记录着3000年航海历史的国际海洋博物馆，拥有世界最大铁路模型展览的仓库区，还有威尼斯风格的精品店和咖啡馆。接下来，我们就一起到这个悠久历史与现代文化相结合的城市去转转。
For over 800 years, Hamburg's harbor has been a gateway to the world. Tens of thousands of ships make their way in and out of the port every year, but the harbor is also home to local ferries that transport residents and visitors alike up and down the Elbe. It's a great way to take in the fascinating mix of architectural styles along the waterway. The St. Pauli Piers are among Hamburg's most famous landmarks. It's also a great place to grab a snack.
Schön zu sitzen.
It's nice to just sit here out of the wind, relax and enjoy
einfach
the view of the
genießen,
harbor.
den Blick auf den Hafen.
Quite the life.
Das Leben.
Ich fahre sehr oft nach Hamburg rein.
I'm retired, so I come to Hamburg quite often. I've grown to love it. I like to spend a lot of time walking around the harbor
sehr viel hier im Hafengebiet rauf und rab.
This is also where the International Maritime Museum is located. 3,000 years of seafaring history are documented here. One of its jewels is a model of Christopher Columbus's Santa Maria, made from pure gold.
Wir haben unendlich viele Exponate, von denen unendlich viele auch unendlich wichtig für uns sind. Dann sind das sicherlich die historischen Knochenschiffe.
Among them are those made of skeletons. They were made by French and Spanish prisoners of war who were captured by the English during the Napoleonic Wars. These model ships are made under extremely difficult circumstances, but are works of art that are in a class of their own.
Die in ihrer Klasse bis heute kaum erreicht sind.
Also in a class of their own are these rare seascapes by 20th century Hamburg artist Johannes Holst. Another attraction in the warehouse district is the world's biggest model railroad exhibition, created and run by twin brothers and Hamburg natives Gerrit and Frederick Braun. It features the city's main landmarks, including the new concert hall on the banks of the Elbe. The residents of Hamburg are known for their reserved manner, but locals say when the ice thaws, long-lasting friendships begin.
Man sagt nicht ohne Grund,
There's a reason why we say here in Hamburg that a handshake is a valid agreement when you can count on it. When locals have decided on something, or to work with someone, or enter a new friendship, they make a commitment. This is all because we like to keep our distance.
The Alster Lake is fed by the Elbe. It's also a stone's throw away from the historic town hall and exclusive shopping district. With architecture that reflects the Venetian style, the Alster Arcade with its boutiques and cafes is a popular destination for both tourists and residents. And a trip to Hamburg wouldn't be complete without a visit to the famous Atlantic Hotel, built in 1909. Its chefs uphold a culinary tradition: lobster soup, a specialty of the house for over 100 years.
We take a good product and we try not to change it too much. Instead, we try to make it even better with a few nuances.
Hamburg, Germany's second largest city, where a rich past mixes with a modern present on the banks of the Elbe.
瞬间穿越到另外一个世界，与游戏融为一体。 这些曾经只能想象的场景，如今在科隆国际游戏展上得以实现。秘密就在虚拟现实眼镜。虚拟现实已成为游戏展上的焦点，带来一场视频游戏变革。让我们一起来经历这场变革吧。
Imagine closing your eyes to everything around you and opening them again on a tropical beach. Once the stuff of fantasy, now virtual reality. Perfect Beach is the creation of a British game developer, Endreams. The company focuses exclusively on virtual world games. It's considered a pioneer in the construction of animated 3D landscapes.
The biggest differences in developing for VR is the fact that the player can look at everything we've made from every angle, every imaginable possible angle. And previously, when we used to make games for standard monitors, you could get away with taking parts out or hiding the reverse side of an object. So now we have to be a little bit more smart in how we do things where that's concerned.
Endreams' latest game is a thriller called The Assembly. Players make their way through the virtual world by simply moving their eyes, or the old-fashioned way, by joystick. The impression of 3 dimensions is created by 2 slightly different images in the virtual reality glasses display. The player's brain reassembles the images in 3D, creating the illusion of actually being present in the animated world. Endreams' CEO Patrick Oluwane has no doubt that this is the future of video gaming.
We just fell in love with VR. We love the feeling of presence, the feeling that you're teleported to another world. The thing about VR that makes it so special is that you're not a spectator looking from outside. You're in the action. You're looking around. You actually feel like you're there, and that makes things like emotions very powerful. Fear and happiness and excitement and all sorts of other emotions are much stronger in VR. So that's the reason that we fell in love with it.
He and his co-workers are hoping gamers in Germany and elsewhere will fall in love with virtual reality as well. Hundreds of thousands of them have descended on Cologne for Gamescom, the world's largest computer and video games trade fair. Many are willing to stand in line for hours to catch a glimpse of the latest releases. Laura Bierling from Augsburg is a dedicated gamer. She comes to Cologne every year to try out the latest innovations. But this is the first time she's ever tried virtual reality glasses.
It's something completely new. I play video games on the PC myself, so this kind of game is a stark contrast. You can look around in every direction. After a while, it puts quite a strain on your eyes. I get a headache really fast. This feeling is always there. The graphics just aren't advanced enough yet.
But gaming is only one potential application for virtual reality glasses. The University of Regensburg Institute of Psychology is exploring the use of virtual worlds as a therapeutic tool. Here, patients learn to overcome their fear of heights. Criminologists, too, have been experimenting with VR simulations. The University of Zurich's Institute of Forensic Medicine compiles data to reconstruct crime scenes in 3D. Investigators can then walk through it using virtual reality glasses. The head-mounted displays and graphics are not perfect just yet, but teams at the likes of Sony, HTC, Oculus Rift, and German optical systems maker Zeiss are working feverishly to put out a marketable pair of VR glasses. So what comes next?
The entire business, myself included, is certain that this is no flash in the pan. How fast we can make a real success of virtual reality glasses depends on the price, and whether there will be cheaper entry-level models. I'm convinced there will be, and how fast convincing game worlds are developed for them.
It's only a matter of time before VR glasses are ready for the mass market. The makers still have to work out how to prevent motion sickness, but the first displays are set to hit the stores within months. Until then, we'll just have to put up with everyday reality.
时尚欧洲精彩呈现，感谢您收看本期的欧洲大观，我是黄杰，下期同一时间我们再见。